What's going on, everybody? Toby1 Shinobi here, and today I'm going to teach you how to win every single game in Chapter 6, Season 3, Super. Well, maybe not every game, but you're definitely going to be winning a lot more consistently after following the tactics and strategies in this guide. We'll be covering a ton in this guide, including what to carry in your loadout, how to use the new items effectively, what you should be aware of around the map, and early, mid, and late game strategies to help you win more games easily. I know this is a large guide, so feel free to jump around using the chapter markers below, or just pop it in while you do some chores, etc. But keep in mind, if you're skipping around, you might miss some really juicy tips. Alright, let's get into it. Let's begin at the start, your landing. This season has a ton of viable POIs to drop into for loot, and most of the loot this season is totally usable. Often more important than weapons this season is utility items in Zero Build. You really want to choose a drop location that has shrines for shockwaves, orange sprites for the dashes, large ammo containers for bubble shields, and hero chests nearby for hero items like base boost gauntlets and the tracking visor. I highly recommend going to Fortnite.gg and just playing with the filters to see where items spawn. A little trick for this is that if you see an icon outlined in yellow, like a chest, that means it's a 100% guaranteed spawn rate. Now, I personally like to drop in at the Supernova Academy and land right on an orange sprite, hit the dashes immediately, and then use them to quickly move to a shrine and deposit the sprite for shockwaves. Once you turn that sprite in, this will get you 4 shockwaves, a rare weapon, 250 superhero points to get you closer to rank B, and the Acrobat boon, which reloads your weapons when you do any parkour move. Now, if you turn in the blue sprites, you'll also get the heightened senses boon, which marks players immediately after they shoot you. So these 2 boons are guaranteed from shrines, and I believe they are currently the best abilities in the game. Not only that, but having the orange sprite dashes is probably the best combat mobility in the game for quickly breaking your enemy's camera and instantly repositioning in a fight. Additionally, landing on shrines means you avoid the risky situation of dropping in on structures and having someone get better loot than you and then quickly send you back to the lobby. So increasing your odds of not dying on the drop is a huge part of winning games consistently. Because let's be honest, especially in ranked modes, most of your deaths are probably happening on your drop. Now, apart from focusing on shrines on Fortnite.gg, look for good chest density, slurp trucks in the area, cars and launch pads to give yourself good loot and good options to rotate out of the POI and move across the map. Now let's talk about loadouts as well as tips and tricks for the new item. Having the right loadout and abilities can make all the difference this season, and there are a ton of fun options in the game, but a lot of them will get you killed if you use them incorrectly. For instance, a lot of people might recommend carrying the DMR for the crazy precision damage and the scope, but this weapon is very unreliable when fighting someone who's moving quickly because it's a projectile weapon with a long bullet travel time. So even with perfect accuracy, you will be missing shots on a sweaty player. Another item that everyone wants to carry, including myself, is the kill switch revolvers. They are a ton of fun and can be super lethal, but the reality is they aren't the smartest choice in terms of consistency for most players who don't have insane aim and movement. They have a very small magazine, but they also hit really hard. The bullet time slow motion effect is awesome for juking and landing high damage with constant first shot accuracy, but the guns have a slight delay between firing, so you have to lead your target to hit both shots, and you are stuck as a very easy target to hit. So for most players, they'll end up getting themselves eliminated while trying to use these high risk and high reward weapons. But if you want to learn how to use the kill switch revolvers properly and become unkillable, then you definitely want to check out my kill switch revolver guide. Truly, these things are probably the funnest weapon Fortnite has ever had in the game. But again, they are high risk and high reward. Now, I do have a recent Inside My Mind video where I teach you how to use them effectively if you want to check that out after this. And that video is going to be great example gameplay of exactly the formula that I'm laying out here. You can also get good with the kill switch revolvers by going to the Shinobi Zero Build mastery map, the code above, and practicing with them on Aim Island. So all that being said, if you really want to win games, you want the loadout that is the most flexible, gets you out of the most problematic situations, and is the most consistent in combat. So as of season launch, I believe the best loadout is a 2-gun loadout with a high rarity Spire AR for both long range and close range spray, and a Sentinel pump shotgun, preferably the exotic Frostfire one, which freezes your enemy or speeds up your own movement. Now, the Spire rifle is extremely good at almost any range, even though it lacks a scope. It has a huge magazine and hits like a truck with excellent precision damage and has great hipfire accuracy. The Spire AR is probably the best non-scoped assault rifle we've ever had in the game. The key to using this rifle at range is to crouch and tap fire it when shooting at longer ranges to increase the accuracy by reducing the gun's bloom. You should only go full auto and stand when your target is at medium or close range. Now, the mythic version of this gun is insane and is pretty much unbeatable in terms of damage per second and accuracy. And it has a slightly faster fire rate and a larger magazine. It can be attained by beating the Daigo boss at Demon's Domain, which will also get you the Infernal Defenses medallion that regenerates your shields to 50 over time and increases your reload speed. Now, one secret about this medallion is that if you get your shields depleted, you can quickly drop it out of your inventory and then pick it back up to start regenerating shields immediately. And you can do this with everyone on your team. It's a very good medallion, and I highly recommend carrying it if you're a confident player or team isn't scared to fight. Now, I don't always recommend dropping on the Demon's Domain boss because the whole area is really risky, pretty ratty. If you want to make this medallion and the mythic a priority, you might consider dropping around the Rainbow Fields, getting the Sprite Shrines, as well as purchasing the mythic grapple from Robin at the old black market Slurp Room. Then you can rotate into Demon's Domain and swoop up the goods from the players who just finished a long fight and are probably low on health and ammo. That is a much safer way to attain the medallion early on, as well as the overpowered mythic AR. Now, as far as shotguns go, I recommend the Sentinel pump shotgun because it hits the hardest within 10 meters and has a larger magazine. But the auto shotgun got a buff this season, and it's also very deadly, but you have to be at closer ranges for it to be effective, and it's not as good when playing cover. It also has an incredibly slow reload speed, but the Acrobat boon can help with that if you're vaulting over things or mantling during combat. Now, if you don't have the best aim, I do recommend carrying the auto shotgun. Just remember to reload between fights. Now, the Outlaw shotgun also got a buff recently, and before it was pretty bad, but now it hits from much further out, but it still only has 2 shots in the magazine. So it is a bit risky as well, but now it is a very solid shotgun that also pairs well with the Acrobat boon. Honestly, with the recent changes to shotguns, you can pretty much carry any of them and be successful as long as you know their effective ranges and keep in mind their reloads. Now, the one shotgun you should never pass up is the exotic unstable Frostfire Sentinel. This shotgun has a chance of dropping from a Spire boss around the map, which are those cloudy pink scary looking icons on your map. These bosses can drop any of the current 3 exotics, which also include the Yoink Outlaw shotgun that has 2 shots and pulls enemies towards you, or the Voltage Burst pistol that fires a shockwave effect at the beginning of the magazine and at the end. Both of these items are solid when you know how to use them well, but the unstable Frostfire Sentinel pump is definitely the most consistent and helpful in all situations. The Frostfire shotgun will either freeze your enemy and slow them down to a snail's pace, or speed up your own movement and become much harder to hit. These effects alternate between each shot that lands on your enemy, and you can see the currently loaded effect by looking at the end of your barrel. So these 2 effects take place even if you hit your enemy from 15 meters away. You're either slowing them down or speeding yourself up significantly, which is honestly overpowered and can make fights easy. The only thing easier than winning a fight using the shotgun is just tapping that like button to help me out in a huge way. If you take half a second to thumbs up or thumbs down this video, it helps the algorithm feed you exactly the type of Fortnite content you're looking for. Now let's quickly cover the boons and superhero ranks. The boons this season are very powerful, and they get even more powerful as you increase your superhero level. This is done by eliminating players, dropping sprites off at shrines, beating Spire bosses, surviving storm circles, and generally just doing good actions like rebooting or reviving your teammate. Your superhero rank is shared amongst your team in team mode. I won't go into all the details of the superpower ranks, but just know that as you gain ranks, you'll siphon 100 effective health of either shield or green health combined every time you rank up, and each rank gets you more access to superhero chests of higher tiers that drop higher tier weapons and boons. Additionally, those boons that you pick up, which are basically abilities, will increase in power as your superhero rank increases as well. So for instance, when you have the combat acrobat boon, you'll reload your weapon every time you do a parkour action like climbing something or hurdling over something. Even using the slow motion bullet time effect of the kill switch revolvers is considered parkour. This boon can be extremely helpful with the guns this season because most of them have slow reload times or very small magazines. So if you have an outlaw shotgun that has 2 shots in it, the acrobat boon can be a game changer because you can just mantle a ledge or hurdle an object to instantly reload the magazine. Now as your superhero level increases, all of these boons get more powerful and they start teetering towards completely overpowered once you are S+ tier rank. When S+ tier rank is achieved, the acrobat boon will fully reload all your weapons in your inventory when doing any parkour move. If you are S tier and still not S+, it will still partially reload all your weapons. S tier rank, the speed healer boon, will allow you to gain unlimited sprint with the slap effect as soon as you begin using a healing item and allow you to sprint while healing. At rank S, the Stormcaller boon will heal your shields a lot when taking any storm damage, and when you reach S+ with it, you'll be able to see future storm circles, which makes endgames much easier to win by knowing where to move before your enemy. And the Heightened Senses boon will instantly mark anyone who shoots at you at any rank, and at the S tier rank, enemies are marked much more frequently with a much shorter cooldown on the effect. Now the 2 boons that I think are the best in all scenarios are the Acrobat boon and the Heightened Senses boon, because auto reload and marking your targets is always really helpful. Both of these boons are easily earned from delivering sprites to shrines, with the blue sprite being the Heightened Senses boon and the orange sprite being the Acrobat. Okay, so far we are usually carrying a Sentinel Pump, a Spire AR, as many boons as we can get, and trying to level up our superhero level early to take advantage of their effects. In addition to that, you either want to carry healing items like a Chug Jug or bubble shields. Bubble shields are awesome because they're easy to find and very versatile. You get 2 bubble shields out of every large ammo crate, as well as ammo and mini shields. These large ammo crates are usually found on utility shelves or furniture in small rooms. Now, bubble shields can be thrown on top of your car to protect it from damage and allow you to rotate around the map freely for 30 seconds. They are also generally better than bunkers because they don't break when somebody uses the base boost item on them unless they hit the very center of your bubble. But keep in mind, the base boost gauntlets will throw you out of the bubble. So a good tactic is to put your back to an object when you throw a bubble, and then you won't be tossed out of the bubble, and you'll have 30 seconds per bubble to do whatever you like with a nice right shoulder peek and excellent visibility. Now, if you aren't going to carry bubbles, you should try to carry heals, especially if you have the speed healing boon. It gives you the ability to sprint while healing and gain the slap effect afterwards. Chug Jugs are obviously the best choice if you can find them. I'll also mention that if you're an aggressive player who's excellent with positioning and mechanics, the tracking visor is also a great choice for this slot, as it makes most fights pretty easy and will allow you to get more eliminations for higher superhero ranks and better loot from your enemies. Now, if you're playing in team games, I do highly recommend somebody carry the tracking visor on your team, as it's incredibly helpful to mark enemies and sniff out rats who might be trying to catch you off guard. The tracking visor is actually pretty incredible because it shows the last 5 seconds of the enemy's footprints as well, so you can tell where people moved without even seeing them. And that's a passive effect without actually having to scan. Now, for your last 2 slots, I highly recommend carrying 2 types of mobility items like shockwaves and the base boost gauntlets. You could just stick to 1 piece of mobility, but with the amount of crazy power this season, I think it's a lot better to be able to quickly and effectively get out of a bad situation using 2 types of mobility. And also combining both mobility items in combat is really powerful. Another note is if you can get your hands on Robin's Mythic Grapple, this is easily the best mobility item in the game. Robin currently sells it for 600 gold in the Slurp Room right near the Flower Fields. It's just like the Jules Grappler with a glider effect and a further reaching grapple. You can even do the grapple glitch with this item to negate the glider effect and get insane velocity every time you use it. The way you do that is by hitting your grapple fire button and then immediately hitting your item swap button at almost the exact same time, but just right after one another. I also have a video on this technique called How to Grapple Glitch. This glitch cancels all weapon animation and instantly pulls out your weapon while sending you flying across the map. Big downside of the Robin grapple is that it only has 20 uses, but those charges can be fully reset back to 20 if you drop it for an enemy and they pick it up and then you eliminate them. So it's often worth dropping with a couple uses left and then watching the item like a hawk. Or even better, if you're in team modes, you can knock an opponent, drop the grappler right next to their crawling body and let them pick it up, and then thirst them for an instant refresh back to 20 uses. Most players on their dying breath will still grab a mythic item and put it in their inventory with the hopes that they somehow make it out alive. The next best mobility is shockwave grenades, but you can only carry a stack of 6. These get you out of a bad situation or into a good one much faster than the base boost gauntlets, and they throw you further while also breaking yourself through structures. If you haven't mastered these, I recommend watching my shockwave mastery video and practicing in my Zero Build mastery map in the shockwave mastery scenario. The downside to shockwaves is that you run out of them, but you can always get 4 more shockwaves by dropping off an orange sprite at any of the unused shrines with a white beam above them around the map. These orange sprites are also an incredible movement item because they give you 3 dashes when thrown down next to you. The dashes are symbolized by the star-like coins that float around your character. When you have them, you simply double jump to go flying in the direction that you're moving your character with a short burst of speed. They are excellent for juking enemies and repositioning instantly. If you combine them with the bee hopping technique or skating, they are a very effective movement item for covering a lot of ground. And if you don't know how to bee hop or skate, you can check out my How to Bee Hop video as well. It's an incredibly useful skill to learn and allows you to move at speeds pretty much faster than anything else in the game. So even if you don't plan on carrying these sprites for the dashes, and you just want to drop it off the shrine to get the shockwaves, I always recommend throwing it down before or after getting shockwaves to have 3 dashes on you. Then you have extra combat movement without needing to carry the sprite. But when you run out of shockwaves and dashes, it helps to have something with more longevity, and that is where the base boost gauntlets come into play. These are better suited for rotating around the map when you're not in danger, or for combat mobility when you're doing shorter movements and taking height on enemies, or pushing them away to get some distance. These are a very cool item because it sort of shoots a sonic boom out in the direction that you're aiming. You can break any object with a single shot with it, or push an enemy away, which is crazy because you get 2 uses in a row with the blue rarity, 3 uses with the purple rarity, and 4 uses with the mythic, which is just crazy because you can blast people's cover away from any distance. So I have a feeling this is actually going to be rebalanced. Now, alternatively, you can use the gloves as mobility by spinning around 180 degrees from the direction you want to go, jumping into the air, and then shooting the sonic blast at the ground at a 45-degree angle while you're in the air. Just to reiterate, you must be jumping for this to send you anywhere though, so sometimes it's a bit tricky to pull off, like on hills. Now there's also an alternate fire on these gauntlets, which simply allows your character to jump into the air by about 10 meters in whatever direction you're moving, but with limited horizontal movement. This is great for swapping to the gloves, doing a jump above your enemy's head, and then swapping back to a weapon to shoot them from the air or land behind them. It's also better suited for just getting onto high points quickly without having to turn around and look at the ground to line up a perfect propulsion shot. This vertical jump will also send you through any ceiling 1 story above you. This secondary fire is also good for those awkward moments when you're on a hill and jumping to do the propulsion shot is just too hard. So instead you can do the regular jump using the secondary fire and then do the propulsion once you're in the air. Once you're in the air, you actually want to propel yourself straight by aiming your reticle level and just shooting backward. This will send you with the most forward momentum. These gauntlets have a pretty high learning curve, so I highly suggest practicing them on my Shinobi Zero Build mastery map and visiting Aim Island to play around with them in different scenarios, especially in the combat movement area. Map code above on screen. Alright, so to summarize my most ideal loadout, earning an S tier superhero rank as soon as possible by eliminating players, AI, and doing activities. Get as many boons as possible, but prioritize the acrobatics and the heightened senses from the shrine. Then you should carry a sentinel shotgun, preferably the Frostfire exotic, a Spire assault rifle, preferably the mythic or a higher rarity from superhero chests, then bubble shields or healing items, and 2 forms of mobility, preferably shockwaves and the base boost gauntlets, unless you can get your hands on Robin's grapple. You also want to try to keep 3 dashes on you from the orange sprites as often as possible. Now let's cover some tactics and strategies you'll want to use to win more games in Fortnite Zero Build Super Season. As I stated before, getting to higher level level super ranks is nice to do in the early game to access better super chests and get improved boons. So I recommend going straight to a shrine on your drop and getting the orange sprites and turning them into the shrine for increased super levels, 4 shockwaves, sprite dashes, and a rare weapon. If you manage to eliminate a couple of players on your drop, you should now be nearing an A rank superhero. And if you see a tracker visor anywhere along your way, make sure to pick it up and use it on a nearby NPC or an enemy. If you mark an NPC or an enemy, you'll gain 250 super points for tracking visor mastery, getting you closer to the next tier. Next, I'd recommend rotating towards some super chests to get whatever starting game loot you need and pick up some eliminations on the way. You should easily be able to reach rank A within a few minutes of dropping in if you're being efficient and have a full loadout that is good for fighting. Once you've got shockwaves, base boost gloves, a shotgun, a Spire AR, and either bubble shields or heals, I'd recommend continuing to rotate towards Spire objectives, preferably the boss spires. Now, when you're moving from POI to POI, you should always have a car with you and preferably bubble shields to throw on the car if you start taking heavy fire. Your car's mobile cover and allows you to not get taken by surprise as easily, which will frequently happen this season with the crazy weapons and utility items. When driving, I highly recommend that you always try to move to high ground and scout an area before entering it to see if you can catch anyone moving around a POI or see enemies coming in from other areas. We also want to be keeping a very close eye on the Daigo medallion that charges your shield, because ideally we want it in our inventory, and we also want to be on the lookout for one of the better players in the lobby challenging us if they have it. And additionally, while rotating, keep on the lookout for the orange dash sprites and always try to refresh your dashes. So after scouting around and keeping tabs on enemies in the medallion, you might want to fight a Spire boss or a mini Spire. The Spire boss will give you exotics and excellent loot while greatly increasing your level, and the mini Spires will drop good loot as well as new boons to take advantage of. I like to go for the boss Spire if it's convenient, because you get double super points when eliminating players or guards in that area, and a lot of points for bringing down the boss, which should either earn you S tier superhero or get you very close. Taking down Spire bosses is definitely pretty risky, but if you play it smart and stay moving or in cover, it's really not that bad. If you want to take down Spire bosses quickly, I recommend using bubble shields and the mist gauntlets if you see any laying around. The mist gauntlets have a wide enough spray to hit all the masks on the boss at once, and the bubble shield will protect you from third parties. Alternatively, the kill switch revolvers are really good for staying moving by dodging around the spires and hitting the critical points on the masks for a lot of damage. If you have the acrobat boon, the kill switch revolvers will be partially reloaded every time you do the slow motion dodging. Now, while you fight this boss, just make sure to keep looking around for third parties. Don't get too committed to eliminating the boss. Try to stay moving and have a plan for someone jumps on you. If you're using a Spire assault rifle, I also recommend not spending time reloading it, and instead just pick up the Spire ARs from the guards you eliminate to avoid the really long reloads. And lastly, it's always a good idea to keep a car nearby that the boss won't destroy, but close enough to jump into to escape a third party. If you've taken down a Spire boss, you should be very well looted and you're now an S tier superhero. From this point on, it's all about moving around the map safely and not taking too much risk with the fights so that you can make it to endgame. So again, move from high ground to high ground and scout for enemies, and when you aren't actively fighting, make sure to refresh your dashes, shockwaves, and bubble shield. You really want to go to the endgame with bubble shields and shockwaves in your inventory, because most players won't have that stuff, and you'll be at a huge advantage if you use them right. Now, the perks of being an S tier superhero in the endgame is that when people hit you, you'll be able to instantly mark them. If you need to heal up, you'll be able to sprint while healing and have unlimited sprint for some time. If you need to reload any of your weapons, all you have to do is mantle or hurdle over something. If you need some shields on you, you can touch Storm a little to gain a lot of shield. And if you manage to reach S plus tier, you'll also have forecast for next zone, which is incredibly helpful for setting up to win the game. Now let's cover some keys to winning endgames. First off, you want to have a car with you at all times if possible, and if you don't, you definitely want to be carrying bubble shields, bunkers, to ensure that you always have cover. If you do have a car, try to park it in a way where it's not visible to your enemies. This way they won't know that you have an escape method, and you'll be able to keep it healthy for rotations and cover. When you are nearing the end game, try to conserve your utility items unless you're being challenged or need to eliminate a threat. A lot of end games come down to who has the most options with utility items for cover and movement. This goes for health as well. If you're in decently skilled lobbies, most players in the end game are running low on health and have no heals, and they don't have much utility. If you can avoid taking damage in the endgame and not taking risky close range fights, you'll usually have a health advantage in the final fights and be able to take a lot more risk. It's a terrible feeling to go into an endgame with a small circle full of teams and you have less than 100 HP and no utility left. Lastly, one of the most important tips that I see a lot of players overlook is to keep a very close eye on how many teams or players are remaining and avoid being in the second to last fight. Once you see the second to last fight happening between the final two opposing teams, you gotta jump on it quickly to third party and clean up hurt players for an easy win. And on the flip side, try to do everything in your power to avoid being that second to final fight. If there are 3 teams left and someone pushes you, try to keep them away or try to force the other enemy to get involved and make them fight instead. This also means that you should always try to position yourself so that you aren't the monkey in the middle between 2 other teams. And the last thing I'll say is that if you're really struggling this season, probably because your combat mechanics need to be improved. Your aim, movement, and positioning is probably lacking. Because in this season, almost every fight is highly dependent on mechanical skill and much less about strategy. Passive players who could typically hide for easier wins in previous seasons will not be very successful this season. So if that is you, it's time to put in the work to improve your fighting skills. And lucky for you, I have the solution. You're going to want to run through my Zero Build Mastery map code above, and complete the all level challenge to get graded on your overall skill and your individual skills. Pay attention to your scores and where it feels like you just aren't earning good score. Once you've completed the gauntlet, go back to the individual scenario that you were worst at and just grind that for an hour or 2 at a time. I promise you will make huge strides in your skill if you do this repeatedly and improve on all your weakest scenarios. I've seen members in the Shinobi Clan go from a white belt to a purple belt in less than a month just by practicing daily before they play Battle Royale. And if you feel like you're still lacking on tactics and strategy, you definitely want to check out my must-watch playlist for Fortnite Zero Build on my YouTube channel. I guarantee it will improve your gameplay. Every video in there is timeless and relevant to the current season, and they pack serious value. If you want to take your gameplay even further, consider joining the Shinobi Clan as a member to get access to awesome resources, incredible people, and personal training. Link in the video description below. And if I've helped improve your gameplay, please consider using code TobyWanShinobi in the Fortnite item shop. That code is spelt the same as my channel name. It's free to do and helps pay the bills and put food on the table for my family of 4. Dang, I sound like an old man. Oh, and one final ask. If you found this video helpful, please smash that like button or give it a big thumbs down to let me know that I need to do better. Thank you so much for watching, my friend. Have yourself a great day. Shinobi out.